Hello friends, this video on matter and magnetism part 14 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. Please make sure that you have watched all the videos till part 13 before going ahead with part 14. Working of a cyclotron. So what do we do here? We apply an alternating voltage to the 2Ds. So alternating voltage is applied to the 2Ds. Positive charged particles are released at the center. As I told you, you see this blue dot. So at the center, positive particles are released. So now they move through the Ds via this gap. Now, as I told before also, they will move in a circular path because of the magnetic field, because of the magnetic force which they will experience due to the magnetic field. Then they will enter the gap. As soon as they enter the gap, they experience the electric field. Again, they move through the other D, again goes through the gap. So that means after how much time they reach the gap? That means the particles move through the Ds via the gap, right? So let us suppose that T is the time period to complete one revolution. That means to complete one revolution, if T is the time period, that means after T by 2, it reaches gap. Because T is the time period taken to complete one circle. But after completing semicircle, it reaches the gap. So after time period of T by 2, the particle reaches the gap. Now what is time period T? T is nothing but 1, time period is nothing but 1 by frequency of revolution. Now what is frequency of revolution? That is QB divided by 2 pi m. So the time period will be 2 pi m divided by QB. So this frequency, that is QB divided by 2 pi m, is nothing but the cyclotron frequency. This is known as cyclotron frequency, and that is why we have the subscript C to show that it is cyclotron frequency. That means this is the frequency with which the charged particles will cover revolutions per unit time. So these many revolutions it will cover per unit time, right? So after every T by 2, it reaches the gap. As soon as it reaches the gap, it gets accelerated by the electric field, and then again it moves through the other D. Now the applied voltage, which I told you just now, that some alternating voltage is applied to the 2Ds. Now this applied voltage is adjusted such that the polarity is reversed within T by 2. That means after T by, let us suppose from here a particle starts moving. So now the time is 0. Now when it reaches here, the time is T by 2. So after T by 2 time, it reaches the gap. Now the voltage which is applied here, it is adjusted in such a way that after it reaches this point, within this T by 2, the voltage gets reversed. That means, for example, reverse in the sense, for example, let us suppose initially when the voltage was applied, this was at a lower potential and this was at a higher potential. Now as soon as it reaches at this point, the voltage gets reversed such that when the positive, if this is a positive particle and if it reaches this end, then D2 is at a lower potential. Let us call this as D1. Let us call this disk as D1 and let us call this disk as D2. So when the particle reaches at the edge of D1, the polarity is reversed such that D2 is at a lower potential. So if D2 is at a lower potential, what will happen? The charged particle will always have a tendency to move from higher potential to lower potential. So it will quickly jump to the other D, that is, it will jump to D2. At the same time, it experiences an electric field which will accelerate the particle. So the particle will get accelerated, it will get energy. At the same time, it will jump to the other D because the other D is at lower potential. And after entering D2, it will again experience the magnetic force because of the magnetic field present inside D2. So it will traverse a circular path. Now as soon as it reaches the edge of D2, the polarity will again get reversed. That means in earlier when it was at this point, D2 was made at lower potential, right? So now again the polarity will get reversed such that D1 is at a lower potential, so that the charged particle will again move from higher potential to lower potential. So it will jump to D1. right? And it will again get accelerated due to the electric field which gets applied at the gap. So this is how the motion keeps continuing, and as a result of which every time the particle crosses the gap, the particle gets accelerated. As a result of acceleration, the radius keeps increasing, and the radius keeps increasing, and a time comes when the radius becomes equal to the radius of the d. That means it becomes same as the size of the d. Then what happens when it becomes equal to the size of the d? Then it goes through this exit terminal. Then the particles are collected from this exit terminal. So what is the result? The result is that since the particle got accelerated so many times, for example, the particle crossed all these regions, so how many times it got accelerated? Let us suppose the particle started from here. It first got accelerated here, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you just see how many times the particle got accelerated. So after getting accelerated for so many times, the energy of the particles obviously got increased a lot. And after that, high energy particles are taken out from this exit, and those high energy particles, so from here you get extremely high energy particles. These high energy particles are very much helpful in many of the practical applications, which we will see some of the applications now. But I hope you understood how it works. So it is nothing, just that there are two metallic discs which are in the shape of D. Now some alternating voltage is applied across these two Ds. Now inside the Ds you have magnetic field, in between the Ds you have electric field. So some positive charged particles are generated at the center. These charged particles move in a circular path inside the D due to the magnetic field present inside D. Now as soon as it reaches the edge of D1, the polarity of the Ds are reversed such that D2 is at a lower potential. So what happens? The charged particle jumps from higher potential to lower potential, and it jumps into D2. At the same time, the particle also gets accelerated due to the electric field which is applied across the gap. So the particle gets accelerated and its radius increases. It again moves in a circular path inside D2 because of the magnetic field present inside D2. It reaches the edge of D2. Again, the polarity of the Ds are reversed such that D1 is at a lower potential, so that the particle jumps from higher potential to lower potential. Therefore, it jumps to D1. Again, it gets accelerated due to the electric field applied across the gap, and this motion keeps continuing and the radius of the path keeps increasing. When the radius of the path becomes so large that it becomes equal to the size of the D, then the high energy particles are collected through the exit. So when it goes out of the exit, they have some velocity v which is extremely high. They have some very high velocity v. Now how do you evaluate this velocity v with which they go out? Let us suppose the velocity v is some velocity v. So what would be the kinetic energy of the ions when they go out? That time the kinetic energy will be equal to half mv square. Now what is this v? This v is nothing but the velocity of a charged particle in magnetic field, which we calculated there while we were studying that helical path. Because here also it is the same thing. It is basically a charged particle which is moving in a magnetic field and electric field. So this v will be nothing but qbr divided by m whole square. So the kinetic energy of the ions will be q square b square r square divided by 2m. Now let us look at some applications of cyclotron. Where is cyclotron helpful? If you look at it, it is helpful for nuclear research. Nuclear research mostly deals with nuclear fission, fusion reactions and things like that, where you always need a projectile. You always need something which will cause a nuclear reaction, which will cause a fission, which will initiate a nuclear reaction. And to initiate a reaction, you need a fast moving particle. So that fast moving particle you can generate from cyclotron. If you see here also, they have used this cyclotron. So from cyclotron, some high energy protons are coming. That means these protons have extremely high velocity and extremely high energy. So these protons are striking with some nitrogen molecules, and these nitrogen molecules are then breaking down into some helium nucleus and carbon nucleus and so on. So the nuclear reaction then continues. So cyclotron basically provides us with high energy particles which are used to bombard a nuclear reaction or which are used to initiate the nuclear reaction. So cyclotron is a very useful device in nuclear research. Not only nuclear research, it has also found its application in medical treatment. You would have often gone to hospitals to get scanning done, right? Sometimes doctor will say that you should get your brain scanned, or you should get something else scanned. If something happens, some fracture or something happens, you often get a scanning done, right? So how does these scanners work? Even for these scanners to work, if you look at it, what do? The patient lies here. If you look at this apparatus, the patient will lie here, and around the patient they will have some apparatus, and inside this apparatus you will have some radioactive substances which will help in scanning. So now these radioactive substances, for production of these radioactive substances, you need extremely high energy particles. So these high energy particles are also created by cyclotron. So these are some of the fields where this cyclotron has good uses, and that is why we study cyclotron. I mean, that is how these concepts help. If you see, cyclotron was also a device which would have been discovered by somebody would have built cyclotron for the first time, right? So the person who built cyclotron, he also built it with the help of the theory, right? If you know what will happen theoretically, only then you can apply it to some practical purpose. So these are some of the practical uses of magnetic field, or the motion of a charged particle in a combined electric and magnetic field. So now that we have covered the topic on motion in magnetic field, I think we should solve some problems so that your concepts becomes clear. Thank you. Please visit examfear.com to watch free educational videos, try free online tests, get the best quality study materials, study from the best tutors and mentors, and much more. Thank you once again.